Today's episode of Daily Detroit is brought to you in part by Castalia Cocktails. Don't just drink cocktails, experience them. With matching scents and knowledgeable barkeeps to guide you, it's a great experience. Try one of their pairings or feel free to go off the menu with an adventure for your senses. The menu both tells you how boozy a drink is, and there is a full, non-alcoholic lineup taking care to give you a top-notch experience no matter how you'd like to drink. Whether it's the intimate indoor bar with less than 20 seats or on the patio outside enjoying the best Detroit has to offer, Castalia is a great spot for a night out, a drink after dinner, or a date. They're open to all Wednesdays through Saturdays from 5 to 11 p.m. with a possibility for unique experiences for small groups anytime with a reservation. You can learn more at CastaliaCocktails.com. That's CastaliaCocktails.com. Make sure to support the businesses that support us and stop on by. Hey everyone, welcome to your Daily Detroit, sharing what to know and where to go in Southeast Michigan. On this Friday, September 15th, 2023, we are focusing on where to go. Yes, I very much know that UAW workers walked out last night at 3 plants, but to be honest, there aren't many updates to analyze or discuss yet, so we're going to press pause on that, and I'm sure we will revisit it in future episodes as things develop. Anyway, as for today, from east of Woodward, I'm Jer Stays, and from west of Woodward,
it's Devon O'Reilly. Who else would it be on Friday?
I love how much you are on time, ready to go, and ready to podcast. It's devotion, and you know what? I really appreciate that, because if there's anything I've learned in podcasts, showing up every day matters.
Appreciate it, Jerry. If I was Mr. Monday, things might be different, because if you catch me on a Monday, I'm dragging a little bit, but by Friday, I can bring it.
I understand you have been busy out and about town.
I'm just loving being back out and about town. Life is a little more complicated logistically with a growing, family of 14-month-old here, but you know what? Still trying to do it. So I want to talk about where I've been and what I'm drinking, but I want to start with what I'm drinking because it's in my hand right now.
Okay.
It is a fantastic single origin organic Yemeni latte from Shibam.
Okay. Now, I've gotten into Yemeni coffee lately, and it is pretty good.
Yemeni coffee is exploding, and I want to kind of pause and put listeners on notice. If you have not heard or particularly had Yemeni coffee before, first of all, do it. This kind of genre is absolutely exploding. I know there's one in Allen Park. You've talked about it, Jer. There's, I think, no less than 8 at this point in Dearborn, which is really the epicenter of this Yemeni coffee. And some of these places in Dearborn are opening outposts in Brooklyn, in Chicago, in Texas, all over the country. And Yemeni coffee is it really is the ultra premium coffee. I mean, no offense to, some of these third wave coffee places that will give you a nice little pour over and charge you $6. Yemeni coffee is just incredibly rich. It's mostly single origin. It comes from Yemen, which is, historically, if you're a coffee historian, it is the center of the coffee universe and the birthplace of the coffee culture. So it's really interesting that this is now kind of exploding. There's a huge Yemeni population in Dearborn, particularly in the south end of Dearborn. You've got this Yemeni population. It's taken a while to kind of get this mainstream, but it's delicious. You get these cardamom flavors and nutmeg. It's just not like any other kind of coffee that you're going to have anywhere else. It's fantastic. And like I said, we're going to hear a lot more on this.
Now, I didn't go with you, but you did text me some pictures of this place. It looks really nice inside.
A lot of these coffee shops do a really good job of making this really great aesthetic. It makes you want to stay. It's not like a Starbucks pop in, grab something, and get the heck out of here. I talked to the barista. He asked me what I liked, what kinds of flavors, tea or coffee. Do you like cream? It's definitely a place that harkens you to kind of stay, visit, chat, build community. I've talked to multiple owners of these spaces. Again, the one I went to was Shibam, which is fantastic, which is named after a really old town in Yemen. And they were just really helpful in terms of helping me pick out the different types of coffee I wanted, styles. They have really delicious sweets and desserts and pastries too. But it really is about building community. That's what they're all about, is creating community here through these coffee shops, through coffee. And it's a fantastic place. It's the one I went to. Shibam is relatively new. It's over on kind of the southeast side of Dearborn, which is a stone's throw from Detroit. Essentially, it's in an industrial area just off of Michigan Avenue and Miller Road, just before 94, if you're coming from the west side. So kind of a really kind of out of the way area. But like I said, look for them to be expanding soon.
You know, another thing I'm noticing is this trend of good coffee in industrial places. So I'm thinking about Drifter Coffee up in Ferndale. That's kind of tucked away in more of a light industrial neighborhood away from downtown. And, you know, to be honest, your rent's going to be a little bit cheaper over there, but it gives you a little bit of flexibility to be weird. You know what I mean?
Create a destination, the logistics of it. I mean, when you're one of these premium places, Drifter's a great one too, then you can roast on site or nearby. You can get your coffee shipments really, really fresh. It creates a lot of ease of logistics. So Shibam was absolutely fantastic. I definitely encourage people to check it out. Also, they do catering. Like I said, we're going to look for them to expand. But Yemeni coffee overall, Jared, I think look for it. It's going to be something you're going to hear a lot about. It's something to really taste for yourself and see. But that's my plug for the day in terms of what to drink.
I love it. I'm going to admit something here that I don't know if listeners I should, but I had not made it to the new-ish, I mean, I know it's been there for a while, Anthology coffee location in Eastern Market that is also in a somewhat industrial area, kind of tucked away on the other side of the DeQuinder Cut. Like you go out on the porch there, it's like a power station on the other side.
Yeah, very minimalist and industrial.
Super. And very clean. Like it's like you're out of some movie set or something. It's so industrial and clean and pretty. And I had a coffee there after a press conference earlier this week. And here is the thing that I am kind of mad at myself about for not going there earlier, is that it's a great bird watching spot. I sat out on that deck and I watched peregrine falcons. I have heard that there are plovers in that area. Like, and I just
Plovers,
watched
you don't
bird.
say.
Listen, Detroit is for plovers. And I would just sat out there for like 15 minutes while I was like doing some notes and whatever from my press conference for the show. And it was just birds galore. I even posted an Instagram story, I might make it a reel, of this peregrine falcon just circling like right over my head. If you're into birds and you're into coffee, and it's kind of out there a little bit, it's rather quiet. So it kind of gives it a whole different vibe. Just wanted to share that as well and admit that, you know, and I'm faulty for this. I've wanted to go there for a long time. And I was like, you know what? I'm in Eastern Market in the middle of the day for this thing. I'm going to knock this off my list right now.
Yeah, they should pass out binoculars there too, or just have them to grab so you can do your bird watching and coffee drinking. So cheers to that, Jer. Now, if you'll indulge me, I got to talk about a place that I have teased on this very podcast multiple times in my anticipation of it opening. And guess what? I finally made it there twice in the last 3 days.
Really? Okay.
Yes, it is the long-awaited Sullivan Steakhouse in the Westin Book Cadillac.
Ooh.
This is the roast space, so I think just about anybody listening should recall where we're talking about. It is the Washington Boulevard facing space in the Westin. It was roast, Michael Simon's, the big steakhouse. Sullivan's didn't do a huge, they didn't knock down walls or do anything crazy because it already had good bones for a steakhouse. But they gave it a nice little refresh, took it up a level, modernized it a little bit. Bigger TVs, nicer decor. The bar is a little bit enhanced. So Sullivan's, we've talked about, is kind of a mini chain. There's ones nearest would be Chicago, and in Indiana there's one. They're a high-end steakhouse, but in a very approachable high-end steakhouse. They're fit for going into a really nice hotel like the Westin. And, you know, admittedly, I am really big into this because it's essentially on my way to work. I park near Sullivan's just about every day before I go to work, and it's a great spot for a lunch and dinner. We love places that are open for lunch and dinner. So love that. It also does a really, really good happy hour. So I stopped in for happy hour. They do a special menu for happy hour. They have $10 cocktails, which I know some people may, scoff that that's a deal, but normally these cocktails are $18. They're really good. I got an incredible smoked old fashioned, which made it onto the Daily Detroit social media channels. But the cocktails are really, really high end. And so you get them for $10. They have a bar bites menu. They've got an incredible martini selection. They have an incredible wine selection. It feels like that place to kind of meet up for a business happy hour. And, Roast used to be a happy hour spot. It used to be one of the happy hour spots way back in the day. I predict this will be a fantastic place for a happy hour. It's a hotel I love meeting. You run into random people who are either at the hotel or in town for a conference, like the auto show. Great spot. And then I went back for lunch, and lunch was fantastic. They have the business lunch. So $40 gets you like a 3-course meal, basically, like
What?
salad, soup, steak. And yeah, like a 3-course business lunch for $40. And then they have a huge lunch menu of all sorts of other things too. So you can do it however you want. Super friendly staff. So I was super impressed with Sullivan's. Again, Jared, because apparently people think this, I am not paid by Sullivan's in any way. I just really, really was excited for this place to open. And so far, I am very, very happy with what I'm seeing here. This is probably going to be a multiple times a week stop for me, just because it can serve so many purposes.
Is it date night level?
Oh, yes. Oh,
Okay.
gosh, yes. I looked at the full menu. They let me check out the dinner menu. And, you're talking bone-in tomahawks and like fillets and ribeyes. And like, if you're into like really high-end chops and steaks, you'll love this place. They've got seafood. The ambiance is kind of nice date night. They've got a patio. Well, it's still reasonably nice. So I could definitely see this as a date night spot, see it as a lunch spot, definitely see it as a happy hour spot. So very excited to see what happens with Sullivan's, but definitely encourage people to keep it on their radar. Hopefully it continues to revitalize that Washington Boulevard block. We talked about La Supreme, the Book Tower is just going to be a huge center of gravity, but that Washington Boulevard does still need some activity. It needs some anchors, some places that people are going to go to kind of populate that area. So this can be another one.
Oh, yeah. And I think it'll help anchor it. And anything new that goes into the Whitney, that kind of stuff. I think there's a lot of possibility with that Washington Boulevard. Your whole story about the large lunch reminds me of my bachelorness when I worked corporate, and you can usually get more food for your money at lunch. So what I would do is on my lunch break, I'd do whatever lunch special, eat half of it, and then take the other half home for my nice dinner. I used to do that all the time as a bachelor corporate Jer.
I like that. We need a name for it, kind of like the bachelor's lunch or something, because you totally could have done that. You could have gotten the business lunch for $40 and get like a 3-course lunch, eat, 1.5 of the courses and take the rest home. And then for $40, hey, you get lunch and dinner. That's a deal.
Yeah, exactly. I did a little bit of nicer dining myself.
All right, Jared. Love to hear. Where are you out at?
So I think it's their second year of operation. They've kind of worked out some of the kinks or whatever. I went down to the Iron Gate in Wyandotte.
Oh, yes. We've mentioned this on the show before, but we haven't really done a deep dive because I haven't been there. I'm just aware of it.
Yeah, and so Iron Gate refers to the iron gates at the front, where you will find dog bowls on either side of the gate if you're going to have your dogs walk by. Because downtown Wyandotte's super walkable, super cute. Lots of young professionals. Like, that's something that really strikes me every time I go through there. I'm like, oh, this is where young professionals are. And as one listener pointed out with another thing, that it is the people's Grosse Pointe. And I really enjoyed my time there. It was a really good meal. Did a Manhattan Primavera with steak, did a flatbread, and did a Caesar salad. And I'll tell you, the Caesar salad had this rub to it. So you know how some salads, you just kind of drop the dressing on it? Mm-hmm. Every single one of the greens was coated, and it was so tasty. And the greens were actually kind of, they held up, which is awesome.
Good,
like so many times, you get floppy greens. You never want a floppy green.
You do not want a floppy green, a wilty green, or anything of that sort.
No, so this was really good. I had a flatbread with it that had kind of like onion and like a hot honey vibe. It was a great experience, a couple of solid drinks. And you know what? Here's the thing. I ordered way more food than I needed. So I, in fact, ate again off of that. There are like plates to share. So what you're going to want to do is, like, if you get something like the Primavera, which had what they call haricot verts, or, basically green beans, you do that and you kind of split everything up. And I think that's the way to really approach these places. I know some people kind of get intimidated by, well, there's not fries that come with it or whatever. I think it's really towards that move of like sharing if you're with somebody else. Mm-hmm. So great venue, great interior, solid cocktail bar, great price, all of the food, all of the drinks, less than $100.
No, I was going to ask about the price point because that's important.
Oh, it's super important because I'm always looking for value for money. If there's anything I've learned about this town, we care a lot about value for money. We're not afraid to spend, but you got to get something for it, not just like quantity, but quality.
Mm-hmm. Indeed. Well, that's great to hear, Jared. I will definitely have to check that out. Wyandotte is not too far from Dearborn. You mentioned the People's Grosse Pointe. I also like my term that I coined, the Royal Oak of Downriver.
Yeah, the People's Grosse Pointe is actually from a listener. So points to that, and points to all the listeners down in Wyandotte that have joined us. I really appreciate it. Also, they've got that Kikoa coffee that just moved into their brick and mortar space. I want to mention that really quick. They do a nice job there too. Very retro vibe, kind of like it. I will post some pictures to our Daily Detroit Instagram for that. Now, I'll just give people a heads up. We're going to be leaning more towards Instagram in the future as kind of our like focused social network. We've been everywhere, and I welcome everyone to follow us everywhere. But as far as like engagement and thoughtful comments and everything else, it really feels like Instagram's where it's at. So maybe that's where we'll double down.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, I don't know if this is widely known or if other people kind of recognize this, but certainly given our ages and generations, Instagram seems to be the kind of preferred platform for people our age. I mean, this may have shifted, but I remember a couple years ago, it was like a pretty clear chart and data that they were showing whereby the Gen X and boomers are more Facebook is their preferred platform. That's where they had the most engagement. Millennials, Instagram had the most engagement. Gen Z, it was kind of Snapchat. Now TikTok had the most engagement. So, definitely for our wheelhouse, at least, Jared, which I know we have a very diverse set of listeners, but I think a lot of them fall into our millennial category. So Instagram is the preferred platform. At least it is for me.
Well, and I mean, it's for us, it's 45 and under is most of our listeners. If I'm going to do the business term and open the kimono or whatever the hell they want to say.
I don't like that one.
You don't like that one? Which one do you like?
It's a strange term, open the kimono.
It is, isn't it? Like, now that I think about it, it's kind of cringe.
I don't like it.
You're not supposed to open the kimono with no, don't do that.
We might as well say open the trench coat. I mean, come
on. What's your transparency buzzword?
I don't have one. You got me, Jared. I don't have to quantify by saying I'm being transparent. I just hope people understand that I am.
You quantified, so by definition.
Yes, exactly.
Let's talk about a place that unfortunately is not making it, and it is going to be Treat Dreams in Midtown. They have announced on Thursday that Sunday, September 17th will be their last day, so no more Cookie Monster or any of those others. They're going to probably sell their pints with other businesses. My roommate loved that place, and I've enjoyed it too, don't get me wrong. But for some reason, it never hit the same there, and I really wish it did. You also have like other ice cream places around there, and I know that there's like lines for Cold Truth like a block away. And, Treat Dreams is expanding other places and the Grosse Pointes, and they're doing well in Ferndale. It just, Midtown didn't shake out for them.
My wife, at the time, girlfriend, fiance, we're really big fans of Treat Dreams. It was close, so we could walk there. Yeah, summer nights, it was great to just walk up there during the week, grab some ice cream. Probably wasn't good for our waistlines, but we loved hitting it up. And they always had really interesting flavors. So I will say that. It's one of the unique things that I don't think I found in other places. Cold Truth is fantastic as well in their own right. But Treat Dreams was different. It was more traditional style ice cream. But they always had just a menagerie of interesting flavors and kind of experimental flavors sometimes. So I kind of always loved going there and doing a 2-scoop where I'd get 1 scoop of something I knew and was going to be good, and then 1 scoop of something that was like the flavor du jour that sounded kind of crazy.
Yeah, I think Cheyenne's talked about this. I have too. I think the Swedish fish ice cream that they have.
Yeah, I remember that. I've had that. It's pretty good.
Yeah. They will still have locations in Ferndale, Madison Heights, and Grosse Pointe Wood. So if you're into it, they're still going strong in some other places. It'll be interesting to see how things change. We talked about Capitol Park, and Go Sai Tai is done there. And already, I believe it's Charminar Biryani. Am I saying that right?
I don't know if you're saying it right, but you're correct in the overall assertion because I've seen that sign. The biryani sign, let's just call it a biryani place, is already kind of coming soon there.
So it's a swipe for Thai for Indian food, and it really feels like Indian is the new Thai food across the board.
Interesting that you say that, but I don't disagree. I'm seeing a lot more of the fast casual Indian restaurants, which I guess does make sense in a way.
Well, and that's also good for the area to see that turnover. I don't know all the economics behind it, but that area has seen some losses of retail shops, so to see that space become something else is a good sign.
Totally agree. I think both of us would say, hey, the worry would be, would that space have stayed vacant for a while? That could be concerning, but if it's flipping right over into a new concept, that's good for now. It's as best as you can do in a story like that when something's closing.
Hey, in a city, one constant has changed. Now, something that made it into the papers, but we talked about a few months ago, Cornerstone Barrel House is done. In fact, they had opened up their spot in Ferndale when all the other papers started talking about it. We talked about this weeks ago. I just want to stand and claim on that we had that.
Yeah, Jared. I mean, I don't want to poo-poo on anybody here, but yeah, I saw some outlets running this as like front page news, and I'm like, dude, it's been closed for months. Like, I don't think it was open in 2023. This is not a big story whatsoever, at least not in the last season. They've already reopened Barrel House in Ferndale, which seems to be doing really well. It's a really cool space. It's very different vibes from Cornerstone Barrel House, which is more of like a sports pub and bar. Barrel House Ferndale leans a little more into the gastro aspect of it and the food and stuff. But no, I mean, it stinks because there's not anything there right now, but it's not a story that it's closed. It already closed. It just moved. So I just hope that something cool goes in there. And you better believe, Jared, as much as I'm on Woodward, I will be peeking through the building ramp there, and I will let our listeners know if anything starts to shake out.
Well, I will say that, we were talking about the Apple Store, and all of a sudden, look, something like that started to happen. And, they addressed stories about that. Speaking of Woodward, Lululemon. I always say it wrong, everyone. I used to say Lululemon. Apparently, it's Lululemon.
Oh, how international of you.
Right. I got it all wrong. I was like talking to somebody and they're like, it's Lululemon. But apparently it's a temporary move over to the old Under Armour space while they get their space rehabbed. I was really excited about the idea of maybe it being permanent when you shared that, and I put that out on the social media because that's such a great retail space and so much bigger. It really has disappointed me that we haven't been able to find something for that bi-level space. It reminds me a lot of like the 2-level store of the North Face in downtown Chicago or something like that. I feel like that could be such a retail space, but I'm glad it's being occupied, and I'm glad they're getting renovated their other spot. I just, I kind of wish they expanded a little bit. Even though I don't buy any of the stuff, I know so many people who are obsessed with it. I remember one time I went there. It was just a couple of hours. I didn't go to Lululemon, but I was just visiting a bar nearby, and it was just like an hour after closing, and somebody didn't realize, and they couldn't get into the store. They were crying. They were so upset they couldn't get into the Lululemon. So I know there's a love for this place.
Their pants are fantastic. I mean, they are the kings of the athleisure industry. I can wear Lulu pants for weekends, and I can wear them to the office.
Men have Lulu pants?
Versatile.
Does that happen? I just didn't know.
Oh, gosh. Yes, Jared.
I didn't know there were pants for me.
There is a whole line of Lululemon for men, like multiple styles, multiple cuts, different materials, everything from joggers to chinos to trousers. Yeah, Jared, you better get your butt in there because Lulu has something for you. I am definitely a fan myself. They are worth every penny, and they just feel incredible.
Lululemon.
There you go. Nice one. That's a good one here. So yeah, I'm excited that they're still going to have a downtown store because again, I'm spoiled a little bit. I can order online, but I can also just pop in, try something on, make sure that I'm getting the right fit, which is really cool. So I'm glad to see that they are sticking around. I'll be interested to see what they do with the renovation of the store. It's not really that special right now. It's kind of just a pretty generic space with clothing racks. So maybe they're going to jazz it up somehow, and I'm looking forward to seeing what that's going to look like.
Another one we brought to you early, and I saw stories about this, is Pi-Sci. We covered that on our newsletter that it was coming. The carry-out only spot in Oak Park. Their plans are to get it up before the end of this year. They want to get it open if they can. But I just want to say, if you listen to Daily Detroit or subscribe to our newsletter, you're going to know things pretty early. We try to get things on this. We don't get everything, but we definitely try to get things ahead of the curve, and I think we've had a couple of W's lately.
Yeah, Jerry, sometimes we've got more scoops than treat dreams, if you ask me.
Oh, there you go.
Right. See, I had to get one, Jerry. I had to get one this time.
All right, well, with that, I am Jer Stays.
I'm Devon O'Reilly.
Thank you so much for listening to your Daily Detroit. Feedback, as always, dailydetroit@gmail.com, 313-789-3211. Remember that you are somebody, and we'll see you around Detroit.